Welcome to the Marriage Podcast with David and Summer.
We're here to dive into all things marriage, faith, and family. Real talk for real couples.
Thanks for joining us. Let's get into today's episode.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Marriage Podcast with Dave and Summer. And we believe that every marriage can make it and that every marriage has a purpose. And I love talking about this subject because we've had a lot of experience
You love talking about this?
in this subject because today's podcast is about how to heal after the fight.
Yeah.
Come on.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's
It's
I don't know
intense.
if I guess I do like to talk about it. It's interesting how you kind of worded that, but I think it's very good for people to know
We've come through the fire.
their side, a beautiful side,
That's right.
after all of the dark side,
That's
I
right.
guess.
Obviously, communication is probably one of the greatest things that we need to work on as married couples. Communication is connected to arguing or fighting. Even on the way down here to the podcast studio, she just corrected me that I wasn't listening to her as we were walking through the offices as I was focused on something, and she told me something that I totally ignored, and then I did not hold the door open for her. So we are on the other side of that fight, and we're doing this podcast right now. Can I get a witness out there in podcast land?
Well, we need to, you know what? We need to practice what we're going to talk about
I love you, babe.
in that situation.
I love you.
Yeah.
So communication is obviously a massive component that is a part of arguing. If you're going to do life together, if you're going to be married, a fight is going to happen. You are going to argue about something.
Yeah.
If you're not, then I'm not saying you have to fight every day. That's not what I'm suggesting. But at some level, there will be a disagreement. There will be tension because you're really talking about substantive things, living up close and personal. If you're not fighting at all, I would just, I'm not here to judge people, but I would say that maybe we're not talking enough because I think there is a healthy side of arguing. It's just a matter of knowing how to argue fair. And like you're saying today, as we're talking about how to heal after the fight.
Yeah. And, there was a couple that I remember coming up to me after church and was just like, we don't argue. Like, we pretty much get along. And there was an older couple. And I think it just depends on the people's temperament.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the fights in the very beginning of the marriage, I find is higher and more compared to as you do get older and progress. But at the same time, I think the fight could still be hard
Yeah.
because your emotions are involved and you're hurt and you have unmet expectations. So anyway, it's always needed.
Yeah, always good. And so we hope to give you just some practical tools that it would stir you and your spouse to talk today to one another. That maybe if there's an unresolved conflict, it can begin to be resolved or be resolved. Maybe skills on the next time around when an argument happens, these practices can come into place and come into play and help you to navigate that in a healthy manner and then get on the other side of it and heal. And I would say get closer together.
Right. For sure.
Because we believe that we can get closer together. And so here's a couple of just things as we dive into this. First is the reality of conflict. Falling in love is easy. I like the statement you had, babe. Falling in love is easy. Staying in love requires intentionality. So good. Song of Solomon, the beauty of passion, but how love matures beyond emotion over time. So we talked about that recently in several episodes, how to stay in love for decades at a time. So true. It's easy to fall in love. You saw me, it was over. Here we are right now. Now, falling in love, staying in that place, as you said, is work. What would you comment to that?
I mean, it's, falling in love is you don't really know the person. You really haven't seen their true self outside of, a nice certain situation. And so you have to be intentional about continually knowing that person, continually shedding things about you, letting them see the flaws and all the things. And so it's like it's important. So you have to gradually continually get connected with one another when that iron
Sharpens iron.
sparks are flying, sharpening iron.
Yep.
You have to continually get connected
Yep.
and purposely talk
That's right.
and open up and dig deep within yourself.
It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that having a healthy communication pattern, arguing healthy, healing after the argument, um, staying connected in communication. We talked about that recently. Emotional connection all goes into the love story growing over time
For sure.
and maturing. And so this is a big deal. Maybe today you're in a tough season, great season, new season in your marriage. But no matter where we're at, there's hope and we can heal past the fight.
We can heal past the fight.
So hit on this next one because this is good to unpack together.
Which one?
Love and conflict, the deeper connection. Go ahead, babe.
So behind every conflict, basically there's a love that hasn't been met or a need that hasn't been met. And so there is, I kind of touched on it a little bit, but there's always one of us in the relationship that doesn't feel seen, heard, validated, and and I would add there probably are triggers that could be involved in that. There's
Yep.
insecurities that can be involved in that. Pressures from outside. So it probably doesn't even involve your spouse, but pressures outside that can involve in that. And your spouse just kind of sometimes will step on that or not do something and you're upset that they're not doing.
Yep.
So there's so much that can take place.
I think we mentioned this example recently, but I want to bring it up again. We had a conflict come up, and you're the one that said it to me. You said, I think, I forget exactly how you said it, but basically you were saying, I think when I said this,
Oh.
this triggered this in you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because you know me. Over 20 years, 22 years being together, 19 years of marriage. And it kind of helped me stop and see it, and you're exactly right. And I'm just bringing that up because I think the more skilled we are in recognizing where our anger or where the conflict is coming from, to your point of unmet need, an unmet need in our life, the quicker we can get past blaming the other person or being emotionally charged where we can't really think straight, so to speak. We can get down to the deeper issue. We can resolve the issue at hand and then go to the deeper unmet need, and then find healing on that too. And I think I've done a better job of knowing myself as we've gotten married, as we've gotten, as the years have gone by in our marriage, versus the beginning, in the early years, I was totally unaware. And needed to be more in touch with me, and God gave me a great healing, and that's part of that. So I think for you and I think we're working on this. Obviously, haven't arrived, but I think we're getting better at recognizing what's going on. And every time you and I have talked to each other about what the that need that we feel is unmet, the quicker we've been able to resolve it, but then even go deeper and move forward.
And I think that goes to how our love is maturing beyond our emotion, because we're able to figure out the core issue and not respond or react to the situation, but we're being proactive of like, okay, what's going on in here? What's happening? Or me looking at you and saying, really, what's going on? Because even in our conversation, I remember I'm sitting down the chair and I came home earlier and he comes in and I could just feel and sense the emotion of just annoyance and struggle bus and anger that you had. I mean, you were just so ticked off. He wasn't saying anything, but I could see it all on you, brother. And I was just like, what is going on? And I just remember looking at you and just thinking, oh, okay, this is it. But the reason why we got there was because of the multiple conversations, the multiple layers of you peeling, me asking, trying to peel things, the same for myself. That's how
Good.
we were able to get there.
It's good.
If we've never done that, and I just want to encourage you, if you guys have never like peeled back layers of, okay, what's going on? Why is this happening? And it doesn't have to be, a therapy huge, like, what's going on? Why, it's not that. It's just like, man, I love you so much that I don't want to see you in pain. I love you so much that I don't want to see you hurt. And inside, I'm like, Holy Spirit, show me what's going on. And he's the God of all comfort. And so I feel like he can utilize us to be able to comfort and soothe those wounds in our spouse.
And really, not to be too deep on this, but I think there's something to be said. Some arguments are not as deep as others.
Right.
Could be
like
over.
what you just talked about
Yeah.
earlier with me and the door. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just kind of spurts, just kind of hits and moves on. Other ones are heavy. But I think if we're honest, these moments do trigger at times something deeper.
Oh, yeah.
And if we were just aware of that it's not just abstract, it's not just something that's out of the blue. Some of our deepest arguments have triggered major stuff in my life from childhood, and same for you. So I think when we understand that, it's not to negate the argument or to not solve what's at hand, but it's also just to remember some of our responses, some of our mechanisms to respond to arguments is because we're triggered by something else. And the more we understand that, the more we know that, the healthier we can be in these moments and not fly off the handle, whatever that means, and pull apart versus we can come together and grow. Because it is possible in this podcast, we're talking about healing past the fight. And unfortunately, a lot of couples do not heal. They can be stuck in the fight and eventually maybe even divorce or separate.
Right.
But yet there's a possibility of a new beginning. And we've seen that happen in a lot of marriages. And we believe it can happen to all of our marriages as well. And so let's talk about this. When conflict requires repair. So again, we just talked about not all conflict is equal. We have to understand that. I don't think any of us in our marriages should make all conflicts equal. Like, oh, he didn't open the door for me. It's like a 10. Like, don't do that. Come on, keep it where it is. Let's not, and same thing for guys with our wives, let's not blow it up when it's something that's not, what are we talking about? This is not that big of a deal. But other times it is a big deal. It may require counseling. It may require pastoring. It may require a lot of other elements to help. So when conflict requires repair, here are the 5 love languages of apology. So we focused on before the 5 love languages just in general of how we receive and give love.
From Dr. Gary Chapman.
These are the 5 languages of apology.
Yeah.
And so maybe write these down as you're listening or watching, because apologizing it's crazy, because once you get married, saying sorry, we've said this before, just saying I'm sorry can be a huge mountain to climb, just to say this simple 2 words, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that becomes this Mount Everest almost at times. It doesn't have to be. That shows our pride and our issues. But here's the proper way to apologize. Why don't you go ahead and lead us off, babe?
Okay. So let me just add too, because there's some of us, you should check out the book. But one of the things that he shares is that each person has their own apology language. And so I could say an apology to my husband and it won't do anything for him, where, he, and I feel like this has happened, but maybe this is more in communication, but especially earlier in our marriage, he'd be like, if I say I'm sorry and he's like, okay, and come on, Summer, what else? I'm like, and obviously his head is not moving like that, but his attitude is, and this is where, you know, you can get down to it. So here we go. So the first one Dr. Chapman has in here is expressing regret. And so this is basically saying you're sorry, saying I'm sorry for,
That's good.
and then, you know, spell it out. I understand, at least from his book, or we were able to actually hear him speak about this, that majority of couples, usually it's the male that has a hard time to apologize. In our relationship, it happens to be me, but I am growing. Uh, but yeah, sometimes usually there's probably like one spouse that's having a hard time to do that. But it's so important for us to express the regret. It's so important to express, I am sorry for,
And say it.
and actually say what you're sorry for.
So we're not saying, if I hurt you. That's not an apology.
Yeah.
That is actually a code. To me, that's a code way of saying I'm kind of sorry and I'm kind of not. That's not healthy.
Or but.
But sorry, but you did this.
Yeah, you're trying to
That's
defend.
not what we're saying. Simply, Summer, I'm sorry. You know, for example, Summer, I'm sorry I was busy and not hearing you in the kitchen, and I'm sorry I wasn't paying attention, not opening the door.
I'm loving how this is playing out
Because
live.
I was distracted, and I apologize. But there's a specific owning of the thing that frustrated her, hurt her, whatever. And so I want to encourage us as couples that we say the thing that we did. And this is interesting. I have to go into all the depths of this, but this year's been a challenging year for different reasons, just in ministry and large, with seeing other people maybe struggle that we know in different things of that nature. But any of us, when any of us get caught or we do something wrong, when I do something wrong to you, it's easy to make excuses, duck and dodge, to say but, say if, say you did this first, I'm doing this because you did this. The list goes on. I've done it. Summer's done it. We've all done it. And really, we need to grow as people, Christians, and just when we do wrong, we let go of all the nuances. We let go of all the excuses and just say, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry for 1, 2, 3, or just one, whatever. And we name it, we say it, we address it, and then that is the ability to be honest, which then gives us the chance to move on and heal.
And when the person receiving that, again, it allows, that apology allows them to feel, or for you to feel seen, for them to feel heard, for them to feel validated.
So
of
good.
like, man, okay, you saw, man, that actually hurt me. It speaks volumes.
And all of us can try to duck and dodge. Versus in our natural reflex is a story out of the Bible, David, when he was caught in adultery, instead of getting it right, he made it worse. And a lot of times, I'm not saying it's that extreme, and that's just an example of what I'm saying is human nature. That when we do something wrong, our human nature is not to say I'm sorry. It's to hide, to cover, make excuses,
Right.
move
You're
around.
saying before Nathan.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
For Nathan. And it could be something small or big. We just want to encourage you to express regret and be specific. Number 2, so that's number 1, write that down, expressing regret. Number 2 is accepting responsibility. This is big. Admit you were wrong by saying, I was wrong. Just saying I was wrong. And we've known couples over the years where one of them different couples over the years, one of the people in the marriage could not say they were wrong. They would refuse to say they were wrong. And folks, if we do that, that's complete weakness.
Yeah.
It is not a strength. It is utter weakness and ridiculous to not be able to say I was wrong.
And I think those of us who probably have a hard time or do not say I am wrong is probably because you've probably seen that in your home being raised, and you didn't see one of your parents actually say that they were wrong. And so you're just like, I'm not
Yep.
God forbid, I'm not, but I do want, if you are in that position, I want to remind you of the cross and how much there's so much power in in repentance. There's so much power in saying, I'm wrong. I did this, and God, I want to turn away from that, and I want to move forward with you.
It's good.
There's so much power in
There
that
is.
because the enemy wants to keep you here.
Right.
And if you don't do that, then, ugh,
Yeah.
there's a lot that can, unfortunately,
That's right.
the enemy could use.
We just need to admit it, own it, and move on.
Right.
And when we admit it, ownership builds trust. I
Right.
like what you put. Ownership builds trust. So when we take ownership, and this could be even, let's just branch this out. We have marriages. You mentioned, babe, with parenting. One of the greatest ways, to me, we can build bridges in our parenting, of course, having time, of course, talking, of course, investing. But man, it's also apologizing to our kids. And a lot of times, maybe older generations, maybe current, would say, I'm the parent, I'm in charge. I'm not apologizing to you. That's totally wrong. If I do something wrong to my kids, I need to be the example. I need to be the leader by modeling apologies. And I have apologized to my kids, and I'm sure I will again because I'm not a perfect parent. But that builds trust with our kids because they realize, man, my dad or my mom is doing just this. And our kids, whether they're small or growing up, they need this respect too.
Right.
But this also goes into corporate.
I'm about to say it goes into business.
Corporate.
Yeah.
So many times, employers make excuses
Coworkers.
instead of just saying, I didn't get it done. I missed this. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it again. Please give me any feedback. Like being humble. Like instead, just ducking and dodging, making excuses. The same thing.
Right.
This is our human nature that's not redeemed in Christ. This is pride. This is hiding. This is fear-based, shame-based, guilt-based. All that. We got to get through that. Maybe there's legitimacy to all those things. I'm sure there is. But in marriage and in life, if we're going to be healthy, we have to accept responsibility. And at some point, we need to say, I was wrong.
Right.
So, number one, write this down, please. Expressing regret, doing it right. Number two, accepting responsibility and owning it.
And then number 3, making restitution. So make it right. And the way you can do that is say, what can I do to make this right? Something else that we have in our conversations with conflict is like, how would you have wanted me, especially if it's during communication, how would you have wanted me to say it? What could I have done to say it differently? And use this scripture in Luke 19:8. Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor. And if I had cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount. So it basically restores emotional balance. It evens it. In some ways, it just kind of like you have this wrinkle of, conflict. And when you're like, how can I make this right? I'm willing to make it right. What can I do? It just kind of settles it down and allows the person to breathe and say, okay, this is it. It gives them the voice
So good.
of this is the way to do it. This is how I want you to love me. It's such an empowerment move, not only for the person who's receiving, but also the person who's giving.
It's good.
Because you're being selfless. You're sacrificing your own agenda. You're sacrificing your own way of being right. And you're saying, I love you so much. I want you to show me, and I want to hear from you how I should love you.
It's good.
And it's so important. I love that.
I think what
can I do to
here,
make it right?
I think what's the theme in this, babe, is when we do marriage God's way through the eyes of through the eyes, ways, and heart of Jesus. This is really we're serving each other. We're in a servant leadership role. And Ephesians 5, before he gets into the role of the husband and the role of the wife, before he gets into that, Ephesians 5:22 to 31, 33. There in that chapter, last half of the chapter, the first verse of that section, he says, submit one to another.
Yeah.
So we're to submit one to another. It's not just you submitting to me, which is this traditional argument that at times some people that are, to me, stuck in Christian nuances of marriage is not totally, it's not the heart of it. Is really, I'm submitting to you, and I need to serve you and love you, and vice versa. And this is a huge thing because in arguments, we believe this. We can get stronger in arguments. We can get tighter. And we've seen that.
Right.
We've seen where arguments have hurt us. We had to come back and make it right. But we've also seen we've gotten better, stronger, tighter through arguments. On the other side of it, understood each other, loved each other, grew with each other more. This is possible. It's not fantasy.
Right.
And so every one of us argue. We all have conflict. So how are we apologizing? Let's keep going. Number 4, genuinely repenting. Show that you'll change. I don't want to hurt you like this again. So make a plan not to do it again. What's the statement? The greatest apology is not doing it again. I heard that before.
I haven't heard
like
that.
The greatest apology is whatever you did to apologize, you don't do it again. Some things that's hard because maybe it has to do with addiction. I'm not saying hard. I'm not saying it's impossible. With God, all things are possible. What I'm saying is maybe it's not just a quick statement and then it's over. Maybe it requires more layers of accountability, habit change, life change, mind change. But no matter what it is, the greatest apology is, hey, I did this. I see that this hurts you. I'm not going to do this again. I have to change this. It's a big deal.
Right. And then our last one is requesting forgiveness. Ask to be forgiven. Basically saying, honey, will you forgive me? It's inviting. It's that reconciliation. It's knowing that this is actually complete. Because if the person says, well, actually, there's more, and you didn't even ask, will you forgive me? Maybe there's more stuff that this person is hurting, and you're just thinking that it's okay, we're good and move on. And they're just sitting there with all this. Now, don't get me wrong. It's their responsibility to be able to share. But I would say that as a whole, you are truly like making sure that they're good. You're like, I want to make sure that this whole thing is complete, and we're wrapping this up with a bow and putting that sucker aside and like, we're not touching this again.
Good.
Because I know that we're good. I know how to love you, and I know how we are going to move forward. And I think that's just so important. And I don't know if you want to add more to this, babe. I know there's something else we want to share when it comes to learn to forgive, but maybe that can be the next
let's
podcast on that.
We can,
because there's a lot to say underneath that.
So the next episode, we're going to go over the ways to and learning to forgive and how we do that practically. But before we go today, I want to encourage you with this, thought to consider talking to your spouse about. Ask each other, when I apologize, what do I usually say? A lot of times we're not, people, there's a stat about self-awareness, and it says that 90% of people say they are self-aware when in reality only 10% are.
Right.
So the point is we're not self-aware of how we're sounding, what we're saying. And so this is good. It's good. I mean, it's a good conversation here today to talk to our spouse and say, what do I usually say or do when I apologize? And let's unpack that. And then what helps you actually feel forgiven? So ask those 2 questions to each other and consider this topic of how to heal past the argument. And think about the 5 languages of apology. And think about which ones maybe is a pattern you can change and really one that really sticks out to you. Like, I need this. This is what really satisfies me when we're in an argument, because we believe it's possible on the other side of the argument and of the fight. You can heal, you can grow, you have hope. Jesus has a way of bringing us together one step at a time. So as we end today, please consider to like, subscribe, and share this podcast. We'd be honored if you did. We'll come back next time and continue, I would say, a part 2 of this on discussing learning to forgive and how we practically forgive each other and move forward to a deep love, I would say, story and passion that lasts decades. We believe in you, and we believe that the best is yet to come. See you next time.